Hey everybody. I hope that you enjoyed the Curtis Jackson book with me. We're going to finish it up today. So it's Curtis Jackson, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. It's a great book. All right. So we're doing the last three chapters. And I got to read this too. All right. So I just have like some things highlighted. Of course, I want you to buy this book. This is my review of the book. And first of all, I think it's great. I think if you spend your money on it, you'll be happy. I highly recommend that you buy the book. Chapter 7 is We Can't Be Friends. Disagreement is something normal by the Dalai Lama. So 50 Cent, I guess maybe had a situation where he wasn't on the Oprah show. Technically wasn't no beef between him and Oprah, but there also was no conversation. So one time he was at a party, he saw Gail, her friend, who's also, I think somehow, they're probably business partners at some level too. And he said, listen, I'd love to be Oprah's friend, but if we can't be friends, could we at least be enemies? And this is, again, like 50 is somebody that strategizes all the time, trying to make the best out of every situation. Not, like if you're not interested in this or that, that's fine with him, but how can he benefit from it in some way? So then he goes on, this chapter is a little bit about competition. Then he explains competition, what it really meant to the Greek people. The ancient Greeks believe in a concept called agon, which roughly translates to the idea of people coming together for a purpose of a contest or competition. To the Greek, the most basic energy in the world was a battle between two forces. A debate was a fight between two people over an idea. Exercise is a fight between energy and fatigue. Study is a fight between you and the material. And every new day is a fight between light and darkness. And then 50, he likes competition. It brings out the best in him. So competition brings out the best. And, for him, he's like, competition is great because when you're in a competition with somebody, you're like shooting for the stars. And that's where this analogy comes in, or this thing that people say, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. But in order to push yourself to be great that way, the first thing you have to do is appreciate the greatness in others. Competition is not hating, it's actually putting appreciation into action. So, you don't have to take competition to some negative extent. Like, competition can be a good thing, especially to bring out the best in you. And then there's this boot camp chapter. I don't have anything highlighted in it. Curtis versus graduation. And in here I have highlighted, as I later told an interviewer, Kanye West gets the trophy, 50 Cent gets the check. That's no shot at Kanye. He made a lot of money too, but it's a trade I'll take every day. And that was that competition that he had with Kanye, who could sell the most albums. Like, he contacted him, he said, why don't we push this? This is coming out really close together. Why don't we push it on the same day and then make this little competition? It'll drive both of our sales up, yours and mine, and then we'll just see who wins. So it wasn't like a beef. It didn't come out of a beef. It came out of like a business idea that they both agreed with. And then Curtis Lannister is a little section here, and on here I have highlighted, but that's how competition works. You can join a losing fight and still come out of it with something valuable. You don't have to win in a competition to have gained something that can take you further in whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then don't keep your competitors afloat. Geneva Versace once said, it's nice to have valid competition. It pushes you to do better. I agree with that. The problem is when you're engaging with inconsequential competition, there are no wins for the more established party in that sort of battle. Sometimes the right move is to disengage with competition that's inconsequential. In other situations, you've got to be very firm in establishing your dominance. And then keeping a book. And this is like, he kind of goes back to like how sporting people keep a book on their competitors so that they're ahead. And he said, like, in business, it's also good to keep a book, not just for yourself and what your other people in your business moves are, but also for the people that are working with you. Like, what are they doing great? What are they doing that are not so great? Keep these things in mind. Books or scouting reports are now So books and scouting reports are utilized in sports, but he's saying they're not really utilized in competitive situations, which they should be, he's saying. The key is that I remove emotion from the equation when I make my mental notes, and I don't get jealous when I see someone making a smart move, just like I don't get excited when I see them stumble. I just make notes on what happened and file it away for later. And then he said, anything that you think somebody does well, write it down. Whether it's responding to emails quick, whether it's, telling you about a trend or something that's happening before anybody else is telling you if they're that person. Then take notes on their weaknesses. Like keep notes even on the people that you're employing. What are they good at? What are they bad at? Where are they excelling? Where should I maybe do a teaching seminar inside my business? Because I'm noticing everybody's lacking the skill. Like when you're keeping a book on it, you can be a better leader in your industry. Once you have it down on paper, you're setting yourself up to make something valuable happen. And this goes right into chapter 8, learning from your LS or losses. Mistakes are a fact of life. It is the response to the error that counts. Nikki Giovanni. Okay, I'm probably tearing up these names. I'm sorry. In fact, success represents 1% of your work, which results only from 99%, which is called failure. My biggest thrill is when I plan something and it fails. My mind is then filled with ideas on how I can improve it. And that was, I think, from a Japanese auto mechanic, and it tells his little stories and about how he failed a couple different times. And this was a really good story, so I'm not going to spoil it, but I think that quote came from that story. You're going to encounter resistance. Every successful person has scars from those encounters. You just can't see most of them. I certainly have these scars, and some of them I'm now just starting to share with the world. We realize we have success in understanding success, but we're failing to understand failure. Dr. Bashun Wang, one of the study's authors and a professor of the Kellogg School of Management, told the New York Times, "We know success breeds success, but maybe we just haven't looked at people who fail closely enough." Just saying, there's something to be studied from successful people, and then there's something to be studied from people that are failing, because really everyone that is failing may or may not have success, but there's something to that also, because success comes from failure. Admitting that you're wrong. I don't have anything highlighted here. And then we go into chapter 9, the entitlement trap. There is joy in work, and there is no happiness except in the realization that we have accomplished something. Henry Ford. This is why I refuse to carry dead weight anymore. I don't know what this all. I have had a bad habit of tolerating counterproductive characteristics in people because I feel bad for them. It's almost as if I somehow blame myself for them not realizing their dream. So he's just saying, like, he is not going to continue in his life to try to pull people up that aren't really trying to pull themselves up. No matter how much support you provide them or love you show, their lowest habits are going to pull them right back to whatever struggle they came from. If they get too close, punch them. Oh, and this is like referring to like life when you're a lifeguard. When you're a lifeguard, the rule is if they get too close, punch them dead in the face and get them off you. Otherwise, you're going to die with them. As a lifeguard, like, you're supposed to save somebody with a device, not with yourself, because they'll drown you. My mom actually had to do that. You should never feel like the world owes you anything. You can only feel betrayed when you feel like you've owed something. You can only feel betrayed when you feel like you are owed something from someone. You can only feel resentment when you had expectations for assistance. When you accept that it's all you, when you accept that it's all on you, only then can you finally be free of focus and to focus 100% on being the best version of yourself. And that's just saying like how people have these excuses and they kind of pull you into them of how they feel like you owe them something, or there's these expectations. But that's why, like, for me personally, I always have a rule. When I do something for somebody, it's just what I'm doing. I'm doing it actually with no expectation from you, because that's when what I do begins to turn into something else, like an emotion. I do it because I want to do it. What you do with it, that's what you do with it. And I think 50 is on that same page, so I totally agree with these statements that he's making. In a 20-year vacation, I didn't like sending a check every month to someone who didn't even seem to have any interest in working. And I think he's referring here to like the lady that he had a child with. She went on vacation when he became successful, when he was always trying to encourage her to be an entrepreneur of her own, but she did not have that motivation, because some people just like to live off of other people's success. And then she would always say, nobody's going to work here if they don't have to. You already did it, she would say, so why should I have to go do it too? I'm good. And then it tells some stories about how he tried to help his son out with an endeavor. You realize, you know, like, it didn't matter what he did until he had the ambition to do it on his own. You can't, you know, lead people to that road. They have to kind of be leading themselves. Ain't nobody working if they don't have to, is when our relationship hit the point of no return. And that's when he knew, like, I'm not going to be with this person, because this is not what I'm looking for in a partner. Nothing has ever hurt me so much and affected me with such keen sensation as to find myself deserted in my old age by my only son, and not only deserted, but to find him taking up arms against me in a cause wherein my good fame, fortune, and life were all at stake. And this is just a little quote that something that he's feeling, that he's talking about a situation that he went through with his son. How do you make a privileged child feel deprived or angry? I guess by getting him whatever he wants. And, you know, that's just like what all parents do. We're constantly gifting our children gifts without expectation. In the lines that whatever theory he's running with, it never has anything to do with his lack of hustle, ambition, or talent. Someone else is always to blame. When do I become responsible? When you pray for success, you don't add an extra little prayer asking for jealousy or entitlement. But when the success does come, jealousy, envy, and entitlement often turn up as a byproduct. I only know how to take care of people who did do something. I remind myself that while it's okay to feel conflicted about a situation, depression is a luxury that I can't afford. I can't allow another person's lack of success to start undermining my own. Embracing responsibility. Sigmund Freud once said, most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. Don't let the thought of starting all over again make you depressed. Understand that most successful people end up chasing that same dream multiple times before it ever comes to fruition. Those problems, however, are yours and yours alone to correct. If you do not immediately get back on the grind and take responsibility for fixing what happened, you are the one who's going to suffer. Importing hustle. Are they making a deposit? Revenue, of course, is the best thing to be able to point to, but it can also be some of the non-transactional things you've mentioned: upbeat energy, helpful diplomacy, punctual, somebody that's always on time, creativity. If you've been making those deposits on a consistent basis, it's probably going to stand out, and you'll be rewarded a lot quicker than a person who's been at the company a long time but is only interested in drawing their paycheck. He's just, tips on how to get ahead. Giving back. The World Bank says that if the top Fortune 500 companies donated just 1% of their earnings to charities organization, it could alleviate extreme poverty across the globe. Just 1%. I don't think that's too much to ask of any corporation. That's his charity, the food bank. When you experience the energy these kids have to face of so much oppression, you realize how it's not about your work ethic versus someone else's lack of one. It's about recognizing that you've been blessed to be able to apply your work ethic in a country with as many opportunities as America has. What I need to do is figure out more ways to give back. And that's the end of the book. I'm going to read the little sections. And all I did is read the chapters, the little verses, the sections, and the things that I had highlighted that I thought made that content of the chapter really good. You know, that's up to you. Like, me and you aren't going to think alike, but these are the things that I was drawn to. One moment, everybody. So now I'm going to read these 7 chapters. The breakdown of the 7 chapters are called reminders to you guys because it's really good. Be fearless. Most people run from what they're afraid of. I run towards it. That doesn't mean I think I'm bulletproof. I've learned the hard way that I'm not, or that I'm unaware of danger. I experience fear as much as the next man. But one of the greatest mistakes people can make is becoming comfortable with their fears. Whatever is worrying me, I meet it head on and engage it until the situation is resolved. My refusal to become comfortable with fear gives me an advantage in almost every situation. Cultivate the heart of a hustler. This was chapter 2. Hustling might be associated with selling drugs, but it's actually a character trait that's shared by winners in every profession. Steve Jobs was as much of a hustler at Apple as I was when I was on the streets. The key to building up the trait in your own personality is accepting that you're never hustling towards a certain goal. Hustling is a motor that's got to be running inside of you each and every day, and its fuel, its passion. If you can keep that motor running, it will take you everywhere you want to go in life. Building a strong crew. This is chapter 3. You're only going to be as strong as the weakest person in your crew, and that's why you have to be extremely conscious of who you have around you. Betrayal is never as far away as you'd like to believe. That's why it's imperative to find a balance between establishing truth and discipline in the people you work with and give them the freedom to be themselves. If you can establish that equilibrium, you will be in the position to give the very best out of your team. This is chapter 4, I think. Hold on. Yeah, this is 4. Know your value. One of the cornerstones of my sustained success is that I don't rush into deals. Even though I've become synonymous with getting paid, I never chase money. I evaluate every new venture based on its long-term potential, not on what the first check I get is going to look like. The reason I do this is I have supreme confidence in my own value and ability, and I'm secure that as long as I'm betting on myself, I'm always going to win. And then chapter 5, evolve or die. If I'd been unwilling or unable to evolve as an individual, I'd be dead or in jail right now. One of the keys to my success is that at every stage of my life, I've been willing to assess any new situation I find myself in and make the necessary adjustments. While I'll always draw from the lesson I learned on the streets, I've never been limited to them. Instead, I'm always looking to absorb new information from as many sources as possible, and I don't care where you come from or what you look like. If you create success, I want to learn from you. And then this is chapter 6, shape perception. Everything you share with the world, your word, your energy, what you wear, tells a story. You must make sure your narrative always presents you as the person you want to be seen as, even if your reality tells a slightly different story. One of the secrets to getting what you want in life is creating the perception that you don't need a thing. That can be a difficult energy to project, especially when you're struggling, but committing to that perception will make you more attractive professionally, personally, and even romantically. Chapter 7, don't be afraid to compete. Some people try to portray me as a troll or a bully, but that's not accurate. My first instinct is always to build positive, mutual, beneficial relationships with people. But if someone isn't interested in being friends with me, I'm more than comfortable being enemies with them. The reason is I believe competition is healthy for all parties involved. Whether it's taking on established rapper or hit TV show, I've always experienced my greatest success when I've met my rivals head on and without any hesitation. Learning from your losses. As many victories as I've racked up over the years, I've experienced many more losses. That doesn't make me the exception among successful people. It makes me the rule. I don't know an affluent rapper, mongrel, executive, or entrepreneur whose losses don't far outweigh their wins. What separates those people from the pack is that instead of complaining about or hiding from their losses, they actively seek to learn from them. Avoid the entitled trap. Nothing was more Nothing was ever given to me in life, and I've had to fight for everything I've earned. And that's why the concept of entitlement has never seeped into my mentality. But almost everywhere I look, from the streets to the boardrooms, I still see a lot of entitled people. You're never going to find lasting success until you take full responsibility for what has happened in your life. No one owes you anything, just as you don't owe anyone else. Once you accept that fundamental truth and accept that you control your journey, so many doors that seem closed are going to open up in front of you. And then he has the acknowledgement. This book is awesome. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. I love this book. Curtis Jackson, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I read you some of the things that I highlighted that I think are so awesome. This book is so encouraging for anyone that wants to be successful in life, finances. You know, you can use this in life, relationship, finances, whatever. You can take something out of this book and improve your life. I am taking something out of this book to improve my life for financial freedom because I want to make smarter financial decisions. This man is very good with business decisions, so I wanted to learn from him some things that I could apply to my business and my life in general. So how would I rate this book? Out of 5, I'd give it a 5 because it's easy to read. He has a lot of examples in here. I feel like it's in his voice. I bet you if you got this on audio, it would be his voice, but I don't know. But I would assume it should be his voice because I feel like it is his voice in the writing here. And I feel like when you read it, you can appreciate him so much more as a person. You know, as I feel about every book that I read, I put him right up there with the Kevin Hart book, the Gabriel Union book, the Black Unicorn book. He's just as good as any of that. And the Trevor Noah book, which is like my all-time favorite book. He's right up there with those books that I've read about people that have been successful in life. So definitely, definitely, definitely recommend Curtis Jackson, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think this book is awesome. He's an awesome person. You can learn from him and create wealth for yourself. All righty. Remember to like, subscribe. And the next books that we're going to read is going to be, I don't even know how much this will relate to financial freedom, but I feel like it will make you a smarter person, which in the end is going to increase your finances. So the next one that we're going to read is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And I have like 7 of his books because I've heard so many awesome things about him because he really gives you, well, I don't know. We're going to read this and figure it out. But with the reviews, I bought all 7 of his books. And I'm sure he probably has more than 7 of his books, but I tried to pick 7 that I thought you guys would be interested in. So The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference. A fascinating book that makes you see the world in a different way by Fortune. All right. Peace. Like, subscribe. Join me on YouTube, Uta Sabella Woods, Living My Best Life. Thank you so much.